Hello, I'm here for my 7-day spiritual atonement. This is day 3, Confessions of a Child, self-reflection series. I've been going live for day 1 and day 2. Day 3 was pretty tough. I don't know if I could go live, so I just recorded it and then I'll post it. So I just want to get started. Today's a special day because it's Father's Day 1, and it's the first time I can officially say Happy Father's Day to both of my dads without no judgment. I've already explained my situation with having 2 dads and how I fell into that. And so I can officially say this is my first official Facebook post, YouTube post, vlog post saying Happy Father's Day to Omar Dean and to Randolph Cotton. So another reason why day 3 is it's about adolescence. It's about middle school. When I was in middle school, middle school is a special period in a young child's life. That's the time where they go through a lot of hormonal changes, physical changes, just a lot of changes. Their brain is developing still. It's just a lot of changes. And it's actually where you could see like the physical traits of the maturation process. Like you could see what they learned in early childhood if it developed in the middle childhood or in the adolescence period. And so I think this was a really, really tough period for me, just like any other child. It's always the hardest time of a child's life, the adolescence. But I want to get right into it. So I want to, bring into my Jamaican family, my Aunt Roxanne. I didn't speak a lot about my Aunt Roxanne, but my Aunt Roxanne was one of my aunts that I told you all. She used to take care of me. And I think it's ironic that, I was cool with my Uncle Enrique from my Grandma Bowie side. From my Grandma Bowie side, and he paid the piano. He was a producer. And on my Jamaican family side, I was extremely close to my auntie Roxanne, Reek and Roxanne. And she also played the piano as well. She played the keys. And so I was someone who loved music growing up. And my 2 favorite aunt and uncle on both family sides were piano players. So I think that that's extremely important in just with who I became, the type of person I became, and the way that I and how I eventually end up taking the route of music like they did at first, and that was a heavy influence on me. And so this is 2001, I guess, 2001, 2002. And so I'm like 4th, 5th grade after 9/11, getting ready to go into middle school, getting ready to move with my mom. So I matriculated to Norland Middle. Which is a magnet middle school. I wasn't in magnet, but I was in gifted. And so in gifted, gifted was still prevalent at Norland Middle because of the magnet program. And so our gifted classes were they were separated from the normal like honors classes. And so we were still considered gifted in middle school. And so I think that by the time I got to middle school, I was living with my mom. My grandmother Codner on my grandma Codner, on my Jamaican family side, she was able to. She taught me a lot. You know, she taught me how to clean. She taught me about washing dishes and, you know, making my bed and doing things like that, like house chores, and just being, you know, just being the type of, you know, young lady, just young woman traits that a young woman should know. And so by the time I got to my mom in middle school, I really didn't, like, she didn't have to teach me how to clean up because I already knew how to clean up. I knew how to clean a bathroom. I knew how to clean the kitchen. I already knew how to do, you know, clean up. I knew how to clean up. And so that's one thing that I learned how to do because I was the only kid in a Jamaican family household. So I definitely knew how to clean up. So kind of keep going on. So again, you know, with all the arguing and the drama in my Jamaican family household growing up in my early childhood, I think that, you know, I left out a particular part in day 2, which was, you know, along with the physical beat and verbal beatings that my dad gave me for every little thing, he also conditioned me to hold my emotions. And what I mean by that is, you know, my dad, Randolph, alright, so anytime that I would get a beating, he would beat me, he would keep beating me until I stopped crying. So, you know, whether it was reading, whether it was whatever it was, and I say reading every time because that was I think I got more whoopings getting from reading than anything. So that's why I always say reading. So like I said, whatever it was that I got a beating for, he would continue beating me until I stopped crying. So eventually, and this is during early childhood, and so eventually, you know, you start to learn how to not cry when getting a beating. And so that's kind of what I had to learn how to do. I had to learn how to do that with my father. Yeah, I just learned how to not cry when I'm getting a beating. And I'm outside. I told y'all, man, I had to go running. I wasn't sure I was gonna make it today, man, but I'm here and I'm here. So again, you know, this is just the magnitude of the type of beatings that I got. You know, along with getting jacked up on the wall, held against the wall, and everybody around, my dad, his brothers, his sisters, his mom, and everybody trying to get him to stop, and he holding me up on the wall. He just got me up on the wall, and I'm a little kid, and then he continues to beat me until I stop crying. And so as a child, you learn how to not cry while getting a beating so that you could stop getting a beating. yeah, it's crazy, right? And so I fear my dad. I really fear my dad. You know, I fear my dad heavily. I feared him a lot. And I think that when I moved with my mom, you know, going into middle school, I think that it was almost like a relief that I didn't have to be around my Jamaican family and all that madness. Now, I knew my Jamaican family loved me because as a family, you know, they stepped up to the plate and took care of me. They raised me, they taught me, you know, they loved me. But it was like when my dad was there, there was a lot of friction. There was a lot of friction. There was a lot of turmoil. And I felt that the turmoil was over me. Now, I didn't know exactly why it was over me. I thought it was because of how he beat me. I just thought that was just the end all be all. It was because of how he disciplined me, which was why the family had so much turmoil. And then found out later on it was other reasons. But so yeah, I feared my dad. And going into middle school, my dad, he still wanted to be a part of my life, even though I moved with my mom. And so, I feared my dad, man. I feared him a lot. And I used to use my mom to get out of having to be with him. And so, because I feared him, my mama, she gonna take up for me. I was a little girl. I was afraid of my dad. She knew I was afraid of my dad. It was a real fear there. And I remember, man, I was 6th, 7th grade, 8th grade, my dad really tried to be involved. He used to come to the school, but instead of like coming to the school, coming to come see me like a regular, like he would like watch me. And so he would, school would be getting out, and you chilling on the side, you chilling on the block with your friends on the side of the gate, school fence gate. I had to catch the bus home, so chilling on the at the bus stop with your friends in middle school, waiting on the bus. And next thing you know, you look down the street and I see like a car sitting real, like it look like my dad's car, because I know he like Honda, so he like the fast cars. So it's like either a Honda or Acura or something, Jamaican. So I'm looking, or BMW. And so I'm looking, I'll just wait. And so I'm looking, and I would always see my dad, man. He would just be like at the corner. He would be sitting outside the car, and he would just be looking. And I used to think like it was almost like kind of like stalkerish, and it was like very weird, because he used to want to almost like try to catch me doing something, but I wasn't a bad kid, and I wasn't about to be caught. I just didn't put myself in situations where I could get in trouble or doing something that I really didn't have no business doing. Because one, I was afraid of my dad, and two, I really didn't have a reason to get in trouble, because like I was a good kid, so I just didn't have a reason to get in trouble. Like it didn't make me, like, I didn't want to get in trouble. I prided myself off of not getting in trouble from elementary school, so I knew that every so often, I got a phone call home because I got a slick mouth or something, or I said something slick to the teacher, or something like that. But I really prided myself off of not getting in trouble. But my middle school experience with my dad was really, it was really tough, because it was like he used to sneak up on me as though I was doing something I wasn't supposed to. And it was more like stalkerish, because at the end of the day, I knew that whatever I did, right or wrong, he probably was just gonna beat me anyways. And so it was more of like a, I called my mom, hey mom, my dad, my dad at the corner. She like, you ain't gotta go with him, like da 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 da. Come to the house. I'ma call him right now. You know what I'm saying? She would always take up for me because I was afraid of him. I was really afraid of him. And I don't know if me being afraid of him and using my mom to like call him and cuss him out for following me around to school, and you know, and you know, he done followed me home, and you know, and once he pull up on me and he say get in the car, I'ma get in the car. But I used to try and avoid him pulling up on me. So I used to quickly try and call my mama, go hide, go to my friend's house, go hide in the friend's house, you know, go do something like that, you know, just go try and hide or go do something else. And I was really afraid of my dad. I was really afraid of my dad in middle school, and you know, this was something that was ongoing. This is something that you know, this is an ongoing thing, man. I was afraid of my dad, and I think I used my mom to, again, now I know that I used my mom, but before I was just a child thinking like, you know, like, what's up with this man? Like, he just want to beat me. He don't like me because he hate my mom. So it's like he don't like me, and I look just like my mom. So it was just like, whatever. So again, you know, that was with my dad. I guess I kind of just wanted to explain that before I really get into my middle school experience with my mom. And so now, you know, going into middle school, you know, again, we know the relationship that I have with my dad. And with Omar, actually, you know, the last time I celebrated Father's Day was my grandma Bowie taking me to go and visit Omar. At one of the prisons he was at. I couldn't even tell you which one it was, to be honest with you, because it was so many in my lifetime. And so it was one of the prisons he was at. I think it was like a Father's Day dedication, and my grandma Bowie took me, and I was somewhere in middle school when I was living with my mom, and I think I went to my grandma Bowie house over the weekend, like one of those weekends or something. So then, you know, now it's my mom. You know, I really, really adored my mom. My mom, such a beautiful black Barbie, man. I thought that my mom was the most amazing person on this planet. I still think that to this day. It's my mom. But man, when I was in middle school, I don't think y'all understand, man. Like, this was the first time that I actually got to live with my mom. Like, this was so monumental to me, you know, because I could be away from the Jamaican family. I got to live with my mom, and not the Jamaican family, but the madness that I had to endure while living with my Jamaican family. And so being able to move with my mom was just like, it's every kid's dream, you know, like, oh, I get to live with my mom. This is who I call mommy, you know. So it was like a really good feeling, man. And it was also, you know, again, it's the adolescence. So I'm also trying to figure out myself. Now I finally get to live with my mom, which, you know, I know probably never even thought about it, but, you know, my mom, I think she was such a big, I think I admired her and adored her so much because, you know, up until that point, my mom technically was the only other dark-skinned woman like me. And I say that because, you know, all of the women in my family are like high yellow, you know, on a brighter, lighter skin tone complexion. And yeah, my mom, she was the only dark skin. Even her mom was red, you know. my mom was the only dark-skinned woman like me. And all these years I had lived with my Jamaican family with all that madness, and I had been around my mom, every once in a while when I went to go with her, but we had never really actually bonded and actually had a real relationship, even though I knew who she was and I knew she loved me. And so going into middle school, is where I just wanted my mom to pay attention to me. It was the first time us living together, and my mom was so pretty, man. My mom got so much attention. Listen, my mom got a lot of attention just for being pretty. A pretty black woman. And I remember always thinking in my head, like, wow, like, this is who I'm going to become when I grow up. I was just in love with my mom. Like, I really just was like adored her. And I think, my mom, man, gotta think, man, every time I went out with my mom, she was a very pretty woman, always had her face beat, hair done, nails done. It was never a dull moment with her. She is the diva. And so I thought that, every time we went out, man, it was always all eyes on her. Everywhere that she walked, all the eyes just followed her. Like, it followed her. Like, literally, I can't even tell you. Again, this is Confessions of a Child, Day 3, self-reflection series. And, my mom had a big old booty too, so she was thick with it. And so I remember always wanting to walk with my mom, and because she got so much attention, it was always hard for her to like pay me any attention because she got so much attention. And so it was like a I'm walking with my mom, we going out now, now I'm living with her now, so now I get to go grocery shopping with her. Now I get to go out when she go out and get her hair done. Now I get to go out when she go out and get her get herself together. And so this is my first time like actually experiencing that. And so my mama had a big old booty, man, and I just remember, man, she always used to get hollered at. And I used to remember feeling that, dang, like, people always paying her so much attention that she could never pay me no attention. And so I didn't think it was her fault. I was just like, dang, she's so pretty, she can't help it, like, people always paying her a lot of attention, and she don't have no time to pay me no attention. And so, when we went out, listen, we from Miami, so niggas down here bold. They see my mama walking through, she got a big old booty, they finna try and holler. So it was always like periods where we would be out, whether at the grocery store, whether at the flea market, whether at the mall, whether at the park, it don't matter. It was a guy coming up to my mama trying to talk to her. And and he would just always capture her attention. And not that it's a bad thing, because she was beautiful, so I know why they always wanted to try and holler at my mom. But them trying to holler at my mom was taking away time from her spending with me. And I'm like, this is what I was waiting for all this time. You know what I'm saying? This is all I waited for. And so I had a lot of mixed emotions within myself with I always question, if my mom, why didn't she pay attention to me? Or I wanted her to pay attention to me. I wanted her to get to know me. I knew that she didn't get to know. I knew that she really didn't know me because I really didn't know myself. But I knew that I looked exactly like her because people always told us that. And be like, dang, boy, that's your twin, boy, that's your twin, boy. So, you know, it's like, I knew that we looked just alike. She was the only other dark-skinned woman like me in my family, and that was my mom. You know, that was my mom. Like, that was my mother. And so, you know, I kind of went through those identity issues. I think a part of those identity issues with, you know, with not understanding me was, you know, my mom really didn't know me, but my mom was, she was extremely, like, girly. So very dainty, you know, hair and the nails, and always gotta look good, and, you know, just. And my grandmother, she got that from my grandmother because my grandmother was just like that. So the women on my mother's side of the family were just like that. You know, they were, you know, very just girly, nice, paint your toenails, and you know, I really didn't grow up like that. You know, I grew up, my aunts, my uncles, they taught me how to ride bikes. I was fighting with my uncles in my grandma Bowie house. I was reading. My aunts, they weren't those type of women. They didn't display those type of qualities, those very feminine qualities like that. And so, you know, I remember in middle school, there was a lot of unsurety with who I am. And I find that ironic because, you know, on the inside, I knew exactly who I was. But on the outside, it seemed like no one else knew who I was. And so what I mean by that is, you know, this is, you know, I'm just not living with my mom, so we're just not getting into the groove, and she's buying me clothes, and, you know, certain clothes that she buy me, I just wouldn't wear because, you know, I didn't feel comfortable in those clothes. And, you know, after her buying me clothes and I'm not wearing it, you know, she started to get irritated, like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know how to shop for you. Like, you don't like nothing that I pick out for you. And it wasn't that I didn't like anything that she picked out for me. Well, I guess it was that. But it was more of, you know, I just didn't wear those types of clothes that she wanted me to wear. And so, because I didn't wear those types of clothes, you know, I didn't wear the skirts, and I didn't wear the halter tops or the spaghetti strings at that point in my time. I didn't. And anytime she would buy me those things, I would just, like, I would be frustrated because I've already told her that I don't wear those types of clothes. Why she keep buying me those types of clothes? You know, so then I just started to have to tell her what I did wear, you know, like, just give me some jeans, a shirt, you know, stuff like that. And so I kind of went through that period where I didn't feel like my mom wanted to actually get to know me. And so obviously, you know, as a kid, you know, you start to think like, well, damn, like, do she care? Do she care about me? Like, she not even trying to learn me. She not even trying to learn how I like to dress, you know. And so I definitely went through that period because, again, this is the woman that I adored. This was the woman that I truly adore, you know, and we look exactly alike, and she didn't want to get to know me. And so going into middle school, or not going into, we already in middle school, now talking about my middle school relationships, because we already see the family dynamic. At this point, my little brother, he was still living with his grandma, so it was really just me and my mom in my middle school. It was really just me and my mom. My little spurts of my little brother, he was in and out with his grandmother and his father's family. Yeah. So I'm thinking about. So I feared my dad. I didn't think my mom really wanted to learn who I was, or she really didn't care to know who I was. And Omar was in jail. I knew Omar loved me, and I knew that, I felt really protected with Omar. And but Omar was in jail, so he wasn't there either. And so, in middle school, I really felt like in my adolescence years, I really felt alone. I really felt alone. So aside from feeling alone in my early childhood, just from being the only child always around, then going into my adolescence and feeling alone, it wasn't good. So obviously, going into education, going into my schooling, middle school was actually where I started to really find myself, find who I was. Started off in 6th grade band. I like music class. I love music already. My aunt Roxanne, my uncle Reek, they were, like I said in the beginning, that's who I took a lot of my influence from, and really loving music. And so in middle school, when I was starting to kind of just figure out who I was, I like band class, band music. I mean, this was the foundation of music. And this was, I knew that I already liked music, but, really getting into band class helped me to realize and see oh, okay, this is the foundation of music. This is the foundation of all of that. And so I really stuck with band, and being in gifted and band, had my gifted classes in band. I was all right. And so as far as my relationships with my friends, I have really good friends. Actually, all the friends that I knew in middle school and elementary school, I still know to this day. And so just to kind of continue, I had a really dope middle school. My friends were all in gifted just like me. And what made it so cool in middle school was that nobody knew the other kids. Okay, we were the popular kids in the school, but we weren't the most popular. But we were the popular kids, but because I think it was more of our swag, our confidence, our, just all of that. And I think that, because of that, we had a lot of swag. We was funny. I started to find myself. I started to figure out that I was funny. I started to figure out that I had a slick mouth. I started to figure out not to take it too much. I started to push my limit with my teachers. I started to really push the limit with my teachers. Get real sarcastic, but not get into so much trouble where now they was calling my parents, or making a phone call home. But I was getting in enough trouble where they had to reprimand me. But I was getting myself out of that trouble so that I didn't get a phone call home. So that was really, really figuring that part about myself out in middle school. That's when I really started to figure that out. And I just, again, I stayed with band because band allowed me to have structure. You know, Ben was really cool, man. I appreciate it, man. And I guess something else that I left off was in the beginning of, I want to say about 6th, 7th grade. In the beginning, we had you know, my mom used to go out a lot. She used to hang out with her friends and stuff. You know, she was still young, and in this period was, I think I turned 13 in 04. So I was in middle school, 7th grade, and I stayed in these apartment buildings, and my mom, she had a party for me, and all my friends from the neighborhood came over to the party. So y'all have to know, I was like super excited. This was my first party. This is my first party, y'all. This is my first party. I was living with my mom, and I was turning 13, and my party had just started. All my friends from the apartments came over, from the apartments all the way in the front to the apartments in the middle, the apartments where we stayed at, and the apartments all the way in the back. Everybody came to my party, and so I thought it was just like cool, because you know, these were the kids that I played outside with. Some of them went to my middle school, and some of them we just was always on the bus together, but we went to a different middle school. And so my dad, he right in the beginning of my party, it was early afternoon. My party started like that, early afternoon, or like, you know, something like that. And he came and picked me up and said he wanted to, you know, tell me happy birthday or whatever, and he wanted to take me somewhere right quick. Just told me to get in the car. And I got in the car. And he rode me around for the next 6 hours, 7 hours, probably about 6 hours, because I didn't get home till late. I didn't get home until after the street lights came on, and all my friends had all the food was gone. All the food was gone. The party was over by the time I got back home. And this was actually the last time that I celebrated, the first and the last time that I celebrated my birthday. Well, we ain't gonna say the last time, because I'm celebrating my birthday after this 7-day atonement. And so my dad, he picked me up right before my birthday party got started, and he started driving me around, and he drove me around Miami Beach. He drove me around, now that I know it's Miami Beach, he drove me around Opelika. He drove me around North Miami. He drove me around Biscayne. He drove me around Coral Gables. And he was driving me around telling me that, he told me, he said, I shouldn't, what did he say? He pretty much said, if I want to like live in the houses that he was driving me around, showing me, that like I needed not to live with my mom, and I needed to come live with him. And he wanted me to come live with him, and he was like, you know, your mom, she ain't nothing, da 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 da, and just always degrading my mom, just always talking down on her. And this was my 13th birthday. And so my dad picked me up from my party to talk about my mama. And and to drive me around and tell me this is what I can have if I just moved with him, and I didn't live with my mom. And yeah, so I'm like, that was the last time that I celebrated my birthday. And I remember just the whole time that I was with him, I didn't cry, because we already know I was conditioned not to cry. Obviously I wanted to cry because I was missing my party. So I was missing my party and my dad driving me around, and I wanted to cry, but I couldn't cry because I was with my dad. So it was just, again, like I say, the conditioning. And so moving on to, I get back to the house, and I get back to the house, and I just walk straight to the room. I get back to the house and I walk straight to the room. I walked straight to the room because I was hurt. All my friends was gone. At this point, my mama like, where you been at? Da 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 da. I'm like, where your daddy had you at? She hot. My mama hot now. She hot. She calling my daddy, cussing him out, cause one, she done spent all this money trying to have a party for me, and then he just took me. And then two, I'm crying. I'm boohoo crying in her arms because of what he did. Like, was that really necessary? And so, that was a big. I wouldn't say that's why I don't have celebrated any birthdays after that. But I think when he did that, it showed me that birthdays were just like another day, and it really wasn't that important. And so I just never really took my birthdays that serious after that. Yeah. So yeah, again, like I say, man, the adolescence period is when the child is able to show what they've learned in their early childhood period. And I think that, my mom really trusted me, man, because, I had my own house keys, I took care of the house. I make sure the house was clean. I didn't get in trouble at school. Not that much trouble. Yeah, not that much trouble. I wasn't getting in like major trouble. I was getting in like, she said something sarcastic trouble, or your daughter talked too much, or your daughter, something like that trouble. But not like, I was never a disrespectful kid, never disrespectful. Just always a little bit sarcastic, but never disrespectful. And yeah, so something that I think that I also need to explain, which is that I remember also feeling like people in middle school used to think I was gay. I guess they always thought I was gay, but in middle school was when I really started to feel that and started to actually hear that, like, are you gay type of thing, because of me liking the band. I played drums, so I used to always have my drumsticks with me. Just have my drumsticks in my back pocket, and my book bag, and my string book bag, whatever I had on. I always had a pair of drumsticks with me because I really wanted to be good, and I just always just trying to push myself with playing the drums, because that was one of like the only things that actually motivated me, which was music. Music actually motivated me. And so uh, during this time, I used to be home a lot by myself. And, in my early childhood, like sixth grade maybe. I couldn't really tell you exactly, but I know it was around me moving with my mom, around that time of me moving with my mom. And that was that my mom used to always have to get me a babysitter. And my babysitter, my mom, first of all, y'all, my mom was, everybody loved my mom. All the kids loved my mom. They like hanging with her. My mama was like everybody godmama. Like everybody godmama. And so it was like everybody loved hanging with my mom. Everybody loved being at my mama's house. My mama, like, we had parties. She's just a really good host. And people just really like my mom because she had a lot of good energy, like really good energy. And so, my mom had these goddaughters. And really she had one goddaughter. And but my god sister used to have to babysit me. And in my god sister babysitting me, my god sister had to be at least 16, 17 around this time, because I was still in middle school. I was still young, early. It was 6th grade, 7th grade. It was still early. And my mom used to always ask my god sister to babysit me when she wanted to go out, go have fun, go to the club or whatever. And my god sister, because she was, a young teenager, she used to always ask, could her friends come over to the house and babysit me too. But not babysit me, but hang out with her to hang out with her. And so a part of that was my god sisters babysitting me. Well, not my god sisters, but my god sister and her friends pretty much used to babysit me. And so along with that, and I apologize if there's a lot of noise out here. I'm outside. I just want to kind of get through it. So, a part of my god sisters babysitting me, they were young, and I knew that young girls like that are just really impressionable. And I remember, I have a very vivid memory of my first sexual experience with my god sisters. And I need to point this out because this is an extremely crucial time for me. This is an adolescence period, and I'm also trying to figure out who I am as well. And so it was one day, my god sisters, they used to babysit me, and my mom used to be gone, and she would ask them to babysit me. and they would babysit me. They were really good girls, man, really cool girls. And sometimes they would call me in the room, in my mom's room, because I had my own room, my mom had her own room. We always had a 2-bedroom. And they would call me in my mom's room, and I knew something didn't feel right, but I'm a kid, so I just kind of just go along with whatever my big god sisters asked me to do. And so they would be like watching pornos and watching flicks and stuff, and I know now what they were doing, but I didn't know back then. And they asked me to perform oral sex on them, and I didn't want to, obviously, but it's like I felt pressured to, because they were doing it to each other, and they were like, yeah, just follow the TV. Like, just pretty much, they wanted me to do what the TV or what the porno was showing us in the room. And yeah, man, she would ask me to give her oral sex, and that was my first time doing that. And I remember having a very nasty taste in my mouth, and I just always remember having a nasty taste in my mouth, and that was my only experience being with a woman. And so I brought that up to say that, you know, in elementary school and throughout the rest of my years, you know, people always thought I was gay. And I always knew I wasn't gay because of that experience, but I always knew I wasn't gay because of that experience. And so, you know, regardless of how I dressed, or regardless of if I wasn't as girly, or regardless of, you know, if, you know, I didn't show myself how other people showed themselves, I knew I wasn't gay. Nobody really understood why I knew I wasn't gay, but I knew I wasn't gay because of that reason. Because I hated that feeling. I hated doing that. You know, now I know that it was sexual abuse. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop it right there. This is middle school, adolescence, and day 3, Confessions of a Child series, self-reflection series, Confessions of a Child. Yeah, this is day 3, adolescence, middle school, and day 4 is high school, and my first semester in college, day 4. But yeah, this is Confessions of a Child, self-reflection series. I'm out.